Smoking is a life-threatening habit that over 1 billion people partake in. Globally, there are around 5.6 trillion cigarettes smoked every year, with around two-thirds of that being disposed improperly. There are also 480,000 deaths every year due to smoking cigarettes and exposure to secondhand smoke. When cigarettes are lighted, they can produce up to 7,000 chemicals, with around 69 of these known to cause cancer. And this is why the sale and production of cigarettes needs to be banned. And this is because it is dangerous to the consumer, the people exposed to secondhand smoke, and the environment itself by the pollution that it creates. And the health conditions that it brings to the consumer are not cheap. They come pretty expensive, and the annual cost in the USA alone total to around 170 billion dollars. And cancer.org wrote an article called Lung Cancer Risk Factors that said smoking is by far the leading risk factor for lung cancer. About 80% of lung cancer deaths are thought to result from smoking. And this shows how the that smoking increases your chances of getting lung cancer, compared to an individual that doesn't smoke or has smokes at a less amount. And these risks can be reduced if the individual stops smoking or even cuts back on how much they smoke. Smokers are also at a greater risk for cardiovascular disease, which um, affects the heart and the blood vessels. The CDC states that smoking can potentially make blood vessels thicken and grow narrow, and this can cause your blood pressure to go up and also your heartbeat to increase. And this if this continues, this can lead to blood clots and also potentially can lead to a stroke. And non-smokers also face the consequences of smoking cigarettes, and that is due to the fact that almost everyone is exposed to cigarette smoke, whether it's by a relative, a friend, or just walking around in public and you're exposed to it by a stranger smoking in the street. And this CDC states that approximately 41,000 deaths among non-smoking adults per year, and secondhand smoke causes strokes, lung cancer, and coronary heart disease in adults. And this is because the actual smoke from the cigarettes can reach around 20 feet, and it could last in the air for several hours. And this is not acceptable, and people that don't smoke these cigarettes shouldn't be the ones affected by it and um, being the ones that have to lose their lives or lose a loved one. And the CDC also mentions that the both babies whose mothers smoke while pregnant and babies who are exposed to secondhand smoke after birth are more likely to die from sudden infant death syndrome. And this is because um, childs that are either in the womb or barely born can be really harmed by these toxic chemicals that the cigarettes produce. And this is why we need to stop the production and sale of cigarettes, because these these innocent children shouldn't be the ones suffering from the smoke of these cigarettes. And aside from affecting people in general, it also affects the environment and the world itself. The Truth Initiative wrote an article: since the 1980s, cigarette butts have consistently comprised of 30 to 40% of all items collected in annual international and coastal cleanups. That is because they are the most polluted item in the world, and they can take anywhere from a year and a half to 10 years to decompose. And even to take it a step further, these improperly disposed butts are potentially harmful to wildlife, and that is because they can leach toxic chemicals into the environment and contaminate the water. The Truth Initiative also wrote in their article: the chemicals that leached from a single cigarette butt soaked for 24 hours in a liter of water released enough toxins to kill 50% of the saltwater, and freshwater fish exposed to it for 96 hours. And this shows just how harmful these toxics can be to the environment and just the world itself. People should think long and hard before lighting their next cigarette and just take it into consideration about all the harm that it does. It could be harmful to the consumer, the people that are exposed to secondhand smoke, and the environment itself. The countries around the world should open their eyes and end the manufacture and sale of cigarettes. It's not a matter of if you will harm yourself or someone else, but a matter of when that harm will be occurred and to whom.